Hey, this is Oteil. If you're liking what you're hearing, head on over to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get your bus pass for an extra episode every week.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Comes a Time. My name is Mike.
I'm Oteil. You know who we are. This was funny for me because
Jesus.
we had Paige McConnell on, the keyboardist from Fish, and Mike and Eric. Some of you who are Patreon fans know Eric, also our video tech,
The Wizard.
I'm not sure you could have two bigger Fish fans. So, of course, I'm like, okay, don't fanboy out on him too hard, but at the same time, like let Wayne Shorter be sitting here on the podcast.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah. And then I'm going to look at you the way you looked at me during this podcast. And I held it together for a good amount of time. But
You did.
I mean, it's like media, like when concerts are your church. Okay. And when you want to say thanks to the person that brings you happiness, and you could tell and with doing these, and how weird it is over Zoom, there's like these pauses and it's like, fuck, is so now where great. I can say it. And I'm like, just to let you know, if you did a shot every time I said, just to let you know, you'd be hammered right now.
It was really cute.
And
he's so sweet. He's so freaking sweet.
I mean, it's he's got this amazing new album out, and it's an honor. In 1 hour, how do you say thanks for a quarter century of phenomenal, life-changing experiences? But
the funny part is that he's nervous because this is the first podcast he's ever done.
Yeah.
And so I didn't expect him to be nervous about it. I was like, oh, you played 13 sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden. It's just our little podcast. Like what? But that was so cute. And I just thought, this is great. Just the whole dynamic is just beautiful because I know both of you really well. And I could read things from both of you that you could read from each other. I just thought this is super cute.
Dude, it's just so funny because I was looking at you and I'm watching you look at me. And it's like this moment. I went backstage at a concert once with Okerson. Big J brought me backstage for this concert in New York City, and I was there was a stack of pizzas, a big stack. It was Korn was the band, and it was a big stack of pizza boxes, and the top one was open, and I was starving, but I didn't want to be like a pain in the butt and whatever. So I was like, on my way out, I'm gonna grab a slice of pizza, and just saying this in my head, and I'm looking at the pizza, and I'm like, God, I want to eat that whole thing. And we meet the band, and Jay used to open for them on the road, so he's friends with them. So we're walking out, and I'm like, bye, guys. Thank you so much. Oh, pizza? And I go to grab a slice, and the cheese had, like, congealed again, and I pulled it was like I screwed up the Jenga tower, and the whole stack of pizzas came down, and I was just standing there with, like, the crust of a slice. I was like Wayne's World type thing, So I had that in my head, and I'm like, don't embarrass Oteil.
I mean, it's fun. I think it's so funny because...
No, it's just funny because, look, I don't care. I'm going to gush. I don't care.
I was like, he's going to gush now. And I was like, no,
of course I am.
And then you held it.
I held it together. I did okay. I give myself a B. And you know what? You know my critic. That's not bad.
Oh, so, I give you an A-. I think I was really good.
Why not an A+? What the fuck, dude?
You complimented him like 4 times. I was like, okay, but the 4th time. But it's fine. Look, I would do the same thing because it's like, I had this happen to me, and then when I met Elvin Jones, or when I met Joe Henderson, or when I met Roy Haynes, it stops time. These people have been on my dad's records. I know them from when they were young, all through, and then they're standing right in front of you, and it's like they're a real human being. Like Roy Haynes was littler than I thought, and so was Joe, and you're just like, oh my God. It's just a weird time-stopping thing. Yeah. So, but it just happens, the people that do it to me, like probably more than 3/4 of our fans have no idea the people I just named. But that would be where I'd gush. I mean, I'm sorry. It's involuntary. So it's really beautiful. I don't want to make you feel bad at all.
No,
it's beautiful to watch, you know. And then I know Paige. Oh, it's just funny.
It would just be weird if I was like, yeah, okay, anyway, dude. So you got this new album. Like, I gotta say it. You know what I mean? And
he would have been much happier probably if that happened.
Well, I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I shouldn't speak for him anyway.
It's totally cool. Whatever. But you know what? It's just, that's what makes him amazing, and that's you know, that's what's. And it happened with Bob Weir. It happened with Mickey Hart. It's just Parrish. I mean, we have. Victor, I mean, everyone that we talk to, what people don't realize, like, I shut the laptop and I'm alone in my living room, and I'm like, I just got to talk to Paige McConnell, like, what? And now I'm supposed to go be normal, like, what the hell? So anyway, enjoy my gushing while Paige, you know, deals with it. Thank you, everyone, of course, for listening always, and it's an honor that we get to do this, and you guys get to, you know, be here with us. So we're here on Osiris, home to so many great podcasts, osirispod.com for all of those. And for bonus content and incredible wormholes that you can get lost in, head over to Patreon and get your bus pass, patreon.com/comesatimepod. And Paige, thank you for the fifth time. And Oteil, I love you, buddy.
We'll just talk. We'll see what happens. I'm ready. Bring it on.
Nice.
Man, well, it's good to see you again. It's been a long time. Jeez.
It's been a minute. I mean, I probably haven't seen you since we did those shows at the Capitol in October.
Yeah,
October of 19. Seems like a long time ago, but that was fun.
I know we had those Jazz Fest plans.
Yeah,
and I was like,
everyone had big plans.
Yeah, it's you go ahead, Mike.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's been it's amazing how we talk about 19 like it's 18, 19. It's just so wild that this year really did seem to drag, but also now that we're all kind of getting back, it seems like, okay, everybody out of the gates. Time to get back to work. Time to get back to life. It's strange.
It does feel that way. It seems like it's going to be happening. It feels like it's going to feel all of a sudden that it's back into something or another. So,
yeah. How have you been treated during the pandemic? I found it to be good and bad. But the good is outweighing the bad in the long run here.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm doing okay. I had a lot of time with my two younger kids and my wife and I in the house, and we all got to know each other a little bit better, I would say. And
yeah,
and that's been fun and challenging and fun. And we just got 2 kittens in my house just last week. Oh. We hadn't really had animals, and so my daughters are freaking out about that, and we all are. It's a lot of fun. That's the big thing going on in my house. I've been happy with, doing this project that I did. Maybe We're the Visitors. I had a great time. The times I played with Trey up at the barn, and a couple other times I got to go up there. So I was able to keep music in my life, just not with anybody else, really, just kind of with me. So
yeah, that's good though. I love that. I love the record, man.
Yeah,
thanks.
It's amazing. Was that your first trip to Iceland?
That was my first trip to Iceland. Yeah, we went, and we were so lucky because we went at the end of January, beginning of February, just really for a couple days, and it was inspiring though. It was a beautiful place, and I don't do a lot of traveling other than touring, and just the people could not have been nicer. The culture was fascinating. The history was fascinating. The island was just fascinating. I loved it. So much to learn from that place.
Was the Borealis going on up there?
Oh yeah, we saw some really nice northern lights for a couple different nights actually. And some of the pictures that I'm using that are accompanying the album are shots that Heather took up there. Just walked outside our door and there it was. So
wow,
we see it up here in Vermont once in a while too, though. So it's pretty cool.
I've never seen it. I really want to see it.
I caught it once with Keezy in in Oregon. We saw it from his farm in like in the distance a little bit, which was pretty wild. Iceland. It's so funny. I started hearing from some comic friends of mine who traveled quite a bit. Iceland started to become a place where a lot of folks would visit, and they were like, it's beautiful and it's amazing, but it's like $38 for a cheeseburger and $10 for a Coke. All this. Like, it really turned into like a tourist like spot for a minute there.
I think it has. And yes, it's not, you can get there pretty inexpensively, but it's and you can do better than that for a cheeseburger probably, but it's, you got to just shop around a little bit.
Yeah, I think that one had bacon on it probably, but
yeah, you got to pick your priorities, but no, I really liked it. And the people are rightfully protective of their island. And so it's partly why it keeps it that way too.
Did that Borealis kind of atmosphere, was that part of the inspiration for the title of the record and the themes, or
it was, you know, it kind of just fell into place. And as I was recording all these songs, I always felt that there was something, either celestial or, you know, otherworldly about them, that they really felt like there was, a presence. And it didn't sort of all come together till right at the end, but I had certain songs had visions for me that I imagined traveling and being places, or the feeling of loneliness of traveling sometimes.
Yeah.
And probably tied in with just the feeling of the loneliness of the year that went by, and sort of the radio silence that I was experiencing from, you know, everyone I knew. But it was yes, I did feel that way. It does feel like it's speaking to something other than just us.
You know, it's a theme me and my brother always talked about, because we were big Trekkies back in the day, the original one. And we've always been into sci-fi and UFOs and aliens and all that stuff. So that's a common theme. Like, I really do feel like that when you look at somebody like Art Tatum, and you're just like, okay, really? You don't think aliens can exist? Like, that guy, how does that happen? Like, you know, come on. Or feet.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Feet to me just are like,
yeah.
So,
and Art Tatum's feet, man. That's a different world for sure.
You know, Kofi had that thing where his fingernails, he had these kind of alien looking fingernails and toenails. And and after he passed away, I got his computer, and he had a picture on his computer with some like kind of meme. And I was like, wow, so he knew it. I mean, I'm sure we joked about it a little bit, but I was like, he knew he was an alien for sure. You know?
Well, it was definitely an album that you can kind of just put on and close your eyes to, and meditate and just let it play. And it just felt like one long sonic journey, you know, instead of song for song for song. It's like one long piece, which was really refreshing.
Thank you. Thanks. I found, you know, I worked on the project. I knew there was something there, but the sequence was really important when I was able to figure out an order for it, because each thing did seem to lead into the next one really nicely. And I really enjoy it in a quiet time. I mean, I enjoy it more than driving or something. I like to just be sitting when I'm listening to that, different music for different things, I guess. But I think it's meditative to certain songs, especially. Thank you.
Yeah, the bass, there was this bass on there, fretless bass, and I kept going back and forth. I was like, is that real bass? Or is that Paige playing? I was like, no, that's real. Is that Paige? And I was like, I got to ask you about that, because if that was you did a really, okay.
It's really me. I played it.
On bass, on fretless?
No, not on fretless. But I did play it, and at some point, I imagined that sound of the fretless was played on a fretless. But it was all keyboards. The album was all keyboards.
Wow.
I did the whole album on keyboards.
You did a good job on that bass, because I was actually playing along with it. I was sitting right here listening to it, and my bass is right here, so I just.
Oh, Jill, that means so much to me that I gave you pause there to think whether or not that was real bass or not. Thank you,
dude. It stopped me from playing because I was like jamming along. I was like, oh, I think Paige would like what I'm doing right here. And then I got to the fretless bass tune, and I just stopped. I had to put the bass back on the stand because certain times it sounds like a keyboard, and then I was like, no. So you really have the sound of bass in your head because the way you phrased it is what kept making me second guess it. I was like,
that was something that I was aware of on this album, and one of the cool things, and what I hoped would happen with this is, if I'm working with a sound that's a fretless bass sound, to be able to play it like a fretless bass, or the sort of Indian sitars types things, to be able to play it to sound like it's a sitar. But if you take it to the next step, there's so many sounds that don't sound like anything. They're synthesizer sounds, and it doesn't sound like a French horn or a bass or whatever. And so then it sort of opens up. Well, what is that melody? How is that played? It sort of the sound works to inspire the melody, and then vice versa. So it kind of builds on itself, and I'm finding a ton of inspiration just from the sounds I'm getting out of these keyboards.
Yeah, my hero Joe Zawinul from the Keyboards with Weather Report was like that, and he spent, you could tell the sound like helped write the song, or that part of the song or that melody or whatever, like the sound puts you into a new place. I really would like to. I just bought my first keyboard, a little Nord, and but I want to get some old synthesizers and try to where it's all laid out, so I don't have to access a menu to program it. Because I really want to do that. I want to get into that, just like finding a sound that's not any other sound. It makes you play something completely different.
Yeah. The Nord's good. Is a great keyboard for lots of things, and really versatile, and good for sampling. So there's all sorts of possibilities there, but I know what you're saying. And whenever I kind of started collecting these, probably in the 90s, older keyboards, and that was always something I wanted. I want to be able to, I never enjoyed it in the 80s and 90s where your keyboards were all just sort of push buttons. You go to this bank and then you could do this, you go to this bank. I want knobs, and I want to see if I turn this knob, what's that going to do, and identify the sound with, oh, that's an oscillator. That's the glide that does this, and sort of be able to, it's not so different than punching in a number and then working with, more or less of it and that kind of thing. Yeah. But there is something textural about it and contextual about it that, it's just, I learn better that way too. I like to be able to touch.
It's funny. It's inspiring too, because I heard Jack White has said that instead of trying to find the computerized sound he's looking for, he'd rather make an instrument that makes the sound that he's looking for. So he's like, him in particular, like to, Third Man Records, like he traveled the world finding all these old record presses and all these old amazing instruments, and the way, to actually press like live to vinyl. And there is that authenticity in that, finding the old parts instead of programming, and it must be such a trip when you actually know what you're looking for too.
I'm just scratching the surface, and programming synthesizers is kind of the least of my skill set. I work with presets, and I modulate them a lot, or make little tweaks to them, but I'm not the guy in there that's twisting all the knobs at this point. There's a percentage of them that I understand and can work with, but there's a lot of them that I'm just experimenting as it goes along and finding it that way, but definitely don't know what I'm doing.
But that's the fun part, right? Taking it apart and figuring out how to put it back together.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, how come I have these leftover parts?
I need a video camera running while I'm doing it, because you ever like accidentally on like a session, a Logic session or something, and your finger accidentally hits one of the keys and this thing opens up, and I'm like, okay, which key did I push to do that? I gotta go and try to find it to close it.
It's true. And with the synthesizers, a lot of the time there is you'll play it, and depending on how you play it and depending on the glide and how quickly you hit the next note, it's not going to sound the same each time around. They're going to have unique, they will be unique takes, and you never really know why. The pressure wasn't quite the same if it's a pressure keyboard. With a touch sensitive keyboard, didn't have exactly the same touch sensitivity, or you hit some knob that you don't know what it was that you hit, and you can't figure that out again. Or so there is a liveness, if you can get that liveness. And that's another thing I really try to do with this project was I don't work so much on a grid where I'm, lining it up and quantizing and making sure the beats are all there. Pretty much every version that I played through this album was just one pass through, and that was it. So it sort of had a live thing. And so on some of them, I would lay down a rhythm track and then play a bass track, but that bass track would just be one time through. And then I'd play the next track, be just one time through. So it was all trying to capture a live feel. And a lot of times I think with electronic music, people, they're approaching it from a computer. That's where nowadays they come in and they say, oh, I can do this, this, and this. But to capture that live element, I think gives it more of a human quality, because it's already electronic and more, maybe not human, a little bit more of emotional quality, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
But do you have to fight your inner critic about, oh, I made a mistake here? And because that's a hell of a tightrope.
It is. It takes a while, and it's and I did it relatively quickly. When I did the recordings, well, obviously quickly because it was just one time through for these things. So each pass was. It was. I went back and did try to overdub on a lot of these things, and I realized I'm not going to be able to add to this. So there were edits. So I would shorten things and take out parts that I didn't like, but the continuous take was just one take for all of them.
That's still very ballsy nowadays. I try to you hear about Thelonious Monk and all these guys that were just getting the first two takes and that's it. And you just leave however it happened. And most people are just not brave enough to do it.
Yeah, but
I challenged myself with it.
I didn't think this stuff was going to be coming out when I was doing it. I was just kind of doing it for myself.
Having fun.
It wasn't really that brave. And it wasn't until, and by the time it had sort of sat for a few months and I decided, maybe I'll put some of this stuff out. And I started compiling it and listening to it and seeing what I really liked. By that point, I'd already sort of accepted it for what it was. I guess I didn't. But that is it, and you're right, Oteil. That is the key. That is the inner dialogue on every time one is in the studio. Potentially, is can I fix it? Can I make it better? What does that even mean?
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny that because mentioning earlier about how it's just different from, finding some of that. I think before I even began meditating, finding that ambient music way before there was like the Spotify's and the YouTubes and stuff, like finding anything that gave you, whether it was like Native American flute or there was a couple of a band, I think it's Virunis, Virunis. It's like just this very ambient. They have an album called The Drift Inside, and it's that kind of like music that would play in like a float tank, or it just helps you get to that quiet. It's such important stuff. And to have to be able to create an album like that and going into this and listen to this, you have our trust. You know what I mean? Like you guys, everything that you guys put out, it's like, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be, no matter what, it's going to be what it is.
Well, it's going to be what it is.
So
thank you.
It's going to be what it is. Yeah. So, but we trust, like there's a certain level at a certain point where you're like, I'm excited to see what's next. It may not be my favorite thing, but I'm excited to see where it fits in the trajectory of, the lexicon of what comes out.
I wish we trusted ourselves the way you do. And that's why I think I'm going to try to do what you did, Paige, with everything I record. Because I'm not putting this out. I'm just doing this for fun.
Yeah.
And then it is what it is. And then live with it for a while. And then you've accepted it is what it is. And then you're like, I could put this out. Whereas if I go into it like I'm going to put this out, I'll probably ruin it.
It's hard.
never let it be what it is.
Right.
You know, like.
Well, that's like what Victor Wooten said. Remember, O'Teal? Like, we talked to Victor Wooten, Paige, and he said, don't say you're not going to do something because that's the first step in doing it. Like you said,
grandmother told him.
The minute you say you're not going to. Well, it's funny, too, because I was thinking about that we were going to talk to you, and I know you're a huge baseball fan, and congratulations on your Mets being in first place right now. I guess I have to say it while they're
I didn't even know we were
in first place.
That's great. We had a nice weekend, a nice couple days.
Yeah. My baseball coach growing up, my freshman baseball coach said, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And it's like, I guess when you treat everything like, I'm not going to put it out, I'm just doing it, but you treat everything like as best as you can. That's one of the beauties of being a fan of the music that you guys create, is that it gets to a point where you feel like you're in on rehearsal and you're seeing something grow for the first time. And that's like the joy of being there for the marathon versus the sprint. It's like, we want to see the growth. We want to see the change. We want to see, and it feels after a while like, oh, we're in the practice room with you. That's really, it just happens to be the garden.
That's really cool. Well, we I love those last time we played the Garden were some of my favorite shows we played. And I hope we get back there before too long, but, thank you. And we feel that from the fans too. We feel the encouragement all the time to be doing new things and to be trying new things. And I've gotten amazing support for this project. People really have told me how much they like, and I really, that means a lot to me from all of our fans and maybe even some new fans. But thank you. Yeah, this one really did feel a little different than a lot of the Fish projects or the Vita Blue projects, or with the, I kicked my keyboard there, with the jamming sort of, often when we're improvising together, it's finding these peaks, and build and build and build, and sort of this peak, and you're in another place, and then that sort of quiets down and builds up to something else. And with this one, I was making a conscious effort to really not let that happen, not let there be those peaks. Every time I felt like it was starting to build to that, I would turn a different direction and try and focus on something else, or let that dissipate and just sort of let it be this potential energy that's kind of bubbling along rather than hitting you in the face. So it's always there, and it's not ambient music to me because it's got that potential energy that's bubbling, but it's also not the peaks and valleys that you would hear with that band, or most of the bands I play with, actually, most of the live stuff we do.
Colonel Bruce used to call that, he said, your music has to have the threat. So it's this, like you say, it's not ambient music because there's the sense that, okay, it could go there, but it's kind of like the tantric sex of, where it's like, no, we're not going to have the orgasm. We're not going to do the peak. We're going to keep marshaling this energy and let it go around.
Is that what you say? We're going to marshal this energy? Is that
or not? Yeah.
Come on, everyone. Let's marshal this energy.
I mean, I'd be lying if. No, I'm just kidding. But I like that. One of the themes of our podcast has been meditation and mental health and all that. And I really like that. I normally don't listen to music when I meditate. Like I either let whatever sounds are around be the music. So if it's birds or the lake, or if I'm in New York and it's just traffic, But I like the idea of like, sometimes when we were trying to put Kavi to sleep when we first brought her home, we would do the Native American flutes and that, but that wasn't necessarily for meditation, So I kind of have this idea like that everything of sorts is a meditation, which is why you shouldn't worry. So like making the music, the idea of you keeping it there, like it kind of makes it a meditation, It's were you ever into meditating? Did you experiment with that?
No, I actually I practiced transcendental meditation, and I was trained.
Me too.
I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. I went through my training. This guy here in Vermont, and I don't keep up with it all the time as much as I should. but I do it certainly when I always do it when I'm touring, and I do it other times as well. But I'm always sure that I do it on tour twice a day. But I appreciate it, and I really do appreciate it.
I started doing it. My wife got it for me as a gift. And I think for her, I think she got it as a gift for her, not for me. But I started doing TM about 8 or 9 years ago, I think. And, it was kind of interesting because for seeing concerts for 25 years or so, and it would be like getting to that point of, quiet in my mind when that critic is quiet and I get down to that nice, like, transcendent level. The only thing it reminded me of was concert, like the place where I would get at Fish concerts and at Dead concerts and at, listening to music. It's just that thing where I'm out of my own way and I'm able to just literally be in that present moment. And it's so great that music, I was like, oh, okay, I remember this place. It's been here all along. And now I could just sit in my house twice a day and find it. You don't find it every time, of course. Mm-hmm. Like some meditations are, you're just, ridiculing yourself consistently. But then, others are just, the thing that about TM, and I'd love to ask you about this page, is that like, sometimes I close my eyes and I feel like a whole lifetime went by. And I open my eyes and I go, it must be 20 minutes. And only like 30 seconds had gone by. And then there's others where I feel like forever has gone by or no time has gone by and I open my eyes and it's been the 20 minutes. And it's interesting the way that time kind of just loses its importance.
Yeah, no, it's a cool thing. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the practice and it does good things for me especially when I'm keeping up with it.
I find it interesting you say you do it more on the road because as I got older, I was more rigorous about, or just more consistent about yoga, about all the health things, because like you have to be more on your game at the road because it takes more from you. Mm-hmm. Do you find that's the same? Is that the same reason you seem to do it more? Like you just got to keep your regimen going on the road?
It's easier for me because my routine is so set out there. That's one thing not every day is different. Every day is exactly the same. And so that's the timing. It finds its way into my routine very easily. Also, I just want to do it. I want to be the best I can for that, that event of that day, whatever that is, the concert. And I should really have that feeling about every day of my life, I suppose. But it just shows you where my priorities are.
Hey, man, that's a common theme of the podcast too. We're trying to like pull ourselves up. Like, it's like, why can't I be like that with, oh, you're nice to everybody else, but not your kids. Like.
Well, it's so funny. People that meditate explain it in so many different ways too. Like Seinfeld explained it as like, that feeling when you have 100% battery on your phone and you're like, whew, okay, like I can leave the house right now. Like it's like you can trust that you're going to stay charged for a while. Mm-hmm. And I think about it a lot where it's, when you have that chalkboard full of equations and arrows pointing to different things and then you meditate, it's like clearing that chalkboard. Like nothing looks better than like an empty chalkboard. It's like you can leave your, they say too that it adds like one session of TM equals like a couple hours of REM sleep. So when you're traveling from place to place and checking in and sound check and all that, it must be, it's like a quick recharge.
Mm-hmm. I do that and I nap on the road. I try to nap before the shows.
Yeah,
for sure. Man, God, so good to see your face, man. I can't wait till we can play again, dude.
I know. I've been in touch with Russell a bunch.
I know. He texted right before this. Our little group text that we have going.
So you had the chance to redo a couple of the Fish tunes at the barn with Trey, mm-hmm. which was really beautiful, and it was great to see you when those shows were announced. You know, Trey's shows at the Beacon there. We all kind of had our like, oh boy, what's going to happen? Who's going to come? Is it going to be this, that? You know, and obviously you take into consideration the fact that every day we were learning a different thing about life. Like each day was a new, you know, variance or testing or this or that. You know, I mean, and to be able to catch you guys in the, you know, where you were able to, you know, join in was really a treat. It must have been so nice to get together and play.
It was a lot of fun, and more than fun. It was really, I found it, I think it was emotionally important for me to do it, just to get back there, even just for a little bit, a day or so that we were doing it. But it was great, and I am thrilled with the music that we made too. I you know, we didn't have any intentions of recording an album. We were just kind of messing around, and so that was a lot of fun. And again, spontaneous enough where we could be out of our own way. So yeah, I look forward to the day when I'm back with those guys again, making music. I cannot wait. And all of us, you know, everybody, just someone other than just me. It's just gonna be, I'm having a good time here, but you know, I'd really like to be with some other people doing it as well.
You know, it's funny in chatting with Oteil and I talk like pretty much daily off air and on, but one of the things I'm surprised about sometimes is like Oteil will listen to like podcasts, Oteil will listen to comedy, Oteil like, and I am constantly listening to music. So we kind of listen to each other's different things, whatever. But I wanted to ask you, like, for me, the pandemic was like, I dove deep into so much music that I never either heard before or maybe dabbled with a little and then found deeper. Did you go into any musical wormholes at all or listen to anything that stands out now that you think back on the year?
You know, I didn't. And I don't spend a ton of time listening to music either. I do listen in my car, and I'll listen to what's on the radio. But I don't listen to music that much. And I did find myself listening to, I was a huge Who fan growing up. And at one point last November, I started listening to Burbridge again, which is an album that we had covered for our Halloween show. So it has double sentimental value for me. But I listened to that for a while, and then I read some article how it's not surprising you would go back to nostalgic things during the pandemic. It's all right, whatever. I'm like everybody else, you know, I'm just we're all in the same little wheel spinning around. So the answer is kind of no, but I generally don't listen to music that much.
My wife said that she was like, I was really surprised. I thought you would be listening to music a lot more than you do, and I really don't. But I think, again, when we had Victor Wooten on the podcast, he was talking about how the guy that invented the DAW said that, you know, you're actually hearing less music because of the way it's chopped up, and vinyl is just a different experience. And then this new thing that he has called, I think, what did he call it? Sonora, Mike? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I
Sonora?
think so. I think that's what it was.
But it actually chops it up way more, like, you know, 10 times more. So actually the fidelity comes out on the other end. It's really good again. So he's like, either go back to vinyl or get this other thing. And I thought, well, maybe that's why I don't listen to music, because somehow my brain unconsciously was just like, it doesn't sound as good.
I was going to, well, yeah, at the beginning I have a turntable and I have records, and I really thought I was going to be at the very beginning of this thing, like, oh, I'm going to go through and listen to my records. I have 30 records I've never even opened, you know,
and they're still unopened.
And no,
but you got young kids too, right?
Yeah, no, that takes up, you know, it takes up time.
I mean, that's why if I had it, I couldn't have a record collection out. It would be destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, they have to be hidden.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things. It's Alexa, Justin Timberlake and,
Yeah.
stuff from Frozen.
I don't know how you guys do
I
it.
throw in some like classical Indian music and Steel Pulse in there every once. I crowbar some in there, but
Nice.
Yeah. I remember you saying you had to like sneak a song into Nigel's playlist for you every now and then, like when you're driving.
I try to turn them on. I'm like, hey, listen to this. Like when we brought Kavi back from India, a friend, Pete Lavazzoli, that plays with me in my band now, turned me on to this classical Indian singer named Kishore. So, and she's like the Mahalia Jackson or whatever of India. And so most of the time, if I put on music, they go, no, stop. I don't want to hear that. Put on, I like to move it or whatever song, that Imagine Dragons. And I'm like, okay, it's your life too. But then I put, Kavi was in the car by herself and I put on Kishore and she didn't protest. And after like about 2 minutes, I looked in the rearview mirror and she was kind of staring out the window like this. And I was like, yes, we hooked her, So I just went back to her because I wanted to have some of her culture too,
Yeah.
But most of the time, so that I try, I try.
How's she doing?
Oh my God, she's running this place, dude. Like the people at her school are like, oh, we know you got your hands full. So it's none of that, oh, how's she adjusting? It's like,
Nice.
I've said this on the podcast a number of times, but I sat her down at the table. I was like, Kavi, in America, slavery ended in 1865. I know you didn't have that in India, but she like realized she has 2 slaves. She's like, this is great. Mom, water, Dad, So she's doing great, man. She's doing great. She's a light, How old are your kids?
I got 9, 10, and 21.
Ooh, 9, them young ones. You're, yeah.
Yeah, so this went by like that.
Twice.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Have you, like, are you kind of getting, like, at all stir crazy with, like, let's get back out and play? Or are you kind of digging it a little?
No, I want to play. Honestly, I just need to socially adjust a little bit before I'm like, okay, we got to go get in front of thousands of people now. Like, I'm having a hard time. Like, we went out to a friend's house for dinner the other night, and just some of the social interactions, I got to brush up on them a little bit. But we'll get there before you know it is the thing. I think it's going to feel like, oh, it's months and months off, but a couple months ago seemed like yesterday also in a weird way. So I don't really know. Of course I want to play. I don't mean to sound apprehensive about it, but I'm, in the right time, we will be there.
Oh, when's the last time any of us had a year off? But also a year off where you're not allowed to like be with anyone. So I mean, it's like a triple. Like what?
I know, right?
Maybe the 80s. I'm not sure.
I haven't had a year off playing since I was 15.
Yeah,
and that's because I just started playing bass at 14.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
It is so funny that you say that about the social, like getting back to it. My wife's in healthcare, so she's a lot tougher and just way more intelligent. And we were moving and we had to stay out of our place for a couple hours. And it was when they opened up outdoor dining. And I don't think I'd left my house in months. And I had my bottle of water, my hand sanitizer, my mask, another mask in case that mask fell on the table. And, we sat and scoped out the restaurant and we're sitting there and I'm telling her, I'm like, if one person sneezes, I swear to God, I'm out of here. Like, I can't handle it. And they brought me a beer and like the suds tickled my nose and I like sneezed into the beer and just sprayed it everywhere. I'm the guy I wanted to fight. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. I'm just going to go sit in the car. I'm not ready for this. But it is strange. Like, I've been going back to New York to perform stand-up the past few weeks and it's like, it is weird. Like we're all kind of at different paces.
Yeah.
Like some parts of the city are just back, and it's like, oh boy, like this is kind of petrifying in a way.
Have you gone out to dinner, Paige? Like gone out to have a dinner at a restaurant?
I have not gone out to dinner or left the state since February a year ago.
Yeah.
And I will. I've got my first vaccine. I got my second one next week. I'm excited about that. And it'll all start to feel like start to feel okay again somehow or another. I do think so. I'm optimistic.
Oh, for sure. I think as the vaccine is as it rolls out quick, it's going to build fast. I mean, I live in Florida, so the UFC's doing a full capacity event. The comedy club here is like sending me stuff. Here, I got more free tickets for you. I'm like, yeah, when Mike gets down here, I'll go out to the comedy club and see some comedy.
We could sit side stage. But, I mean, both of you, and obviously, the scene we're in, the fans, we always appreciate how much you guys give us, and we always want to make sure you know how much we appreciate it. So have fans been reaching out and just thanking you for the music's getting all of us through? And
no one has my number. If that's what you mean.
No. I hope no one's calling you. No, we don't recommend that.
I don't do social media.
You're feeling it,
No.
All right. Well, here you go, Paige. Thank you from us. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thanks for saying that. I was wondering. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Is it okay if we give your number?
This is the first I've heard, but thanks.
Oh, all right. Yeah. In case you didn't notice, every show sold out.
No, when we
like what you're doing.
Thank you. I take it back. When we released Stigma Oasis, I was looking at there was a thread that was going along as it was playing, and I read along, and people were really appreciative when we put that album out last year, and I know people were appreciative of the things that Trey was doing at the Beacon. I saw some things about that, just how much people liked it, and anyone that I know that I happen to have contact with, the guy that mows my lawn or whatever, that have liked the albums, the December album or this album. I get texts from friends and stuff. People are I'm making fun. People are very appreciative. Our fans are so nice, and we always know that they love us and are always sending us good vibes. So it means a lot, and we feel it.
I'm sure you'll be getting some too with the record coming out also.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I'm excited about this one just because it feels so different. It's just me. I'm the whole thing, everything, even this conversation we're having. I'm just talking about me. I'm not really used to that. And I enjoyed making it by myself. I was able to work in a way that I was working in my studio here and able to send it down to Bryce, who's an engineer we work with, Bryce Goggin. Yeah. Jared also worked some on it. Not here in the studio with me, but Jared Slomoff, who OTL.
I love Jared.
So I had a couple engineers. Some of the tracks I recorded and mixed all myself. So it was just a very different process than anything I'd done before in so many ways, and solo in so many ways that it was fun. It really was fun. And I've done these sorts of little synthesizer things. I've been doing them for 20 years. I just never really thought anybody really cared about hearing them. But this particular batch I'm really proud of, and it's sitting really nicely. So I look forward to doing more, though. I don't think this is the last of this. That I want to do more of this sort of thing.
It just feels like when because it was pretty late night when I started it, and I was like, well, I want to listen to a couple of tracks. I wanted to hear the title track because I was into the. Yeah. I was just listening to a UFO podcast right before that.
Perfect.
And and I just got immediately sucked in, and it just feels like you. Like I know you. I've ridden on buses with you. We've put time in together, and it just feels so much like you being at peace with yourself. Like you're saying, like it is what it is, and after you lived with it, it's like, why not put it out? Like, okay, you can accept it. It's beautiful, man.
Thank you. And I played it for Trey before I put it out, and he said something very similar that and I forget who he quoted. The hardest thing is to sound like yourself, and that this really sounds like you, and he was really happy about that. And that meant a lot coming from him and coming from you, Oteil. Thank you. It does. It feels comfortable. I can listen to it still. I don't listen to any of my stuff once it's come out. I usually put it away and then that's it, and I don't ever listen to it again. But I've been able to listen to this one. We'll see how it goes a week or two from now. But so far, it's still in the it's still making my nightly rotation if I listen at night.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Good. I mean, it's good you like it for us too, because maybe that means there will be more of it.
Good.
Yeah, you know what? I'm finding
pressure.
I can listen to my stuff, but it takes like a good, like a good 15 years. I can be objective about it again, because I'm starting to listen to my album Family Secret. We're starting to do some stuff from that, and I think I put it out in 2005, and now I have this other appreciation for it. I could see it more objectively now, where before I was like you, like all I could hear is what I wish that I had changed, so I just don't listen to it. After it comes out, I never listen to it again.
You're like me, Oteil. That is my thing. All I hear is mistakes going by.
Yeah, or even like just the whole the sound that I didn't start with the right sound, so now I don't even want to hear the song, because even if I played it well, the sound was it's just like, oh, it's endless.
It's tough to be. It's tough not to be critical, and that's how I got lucky on this one. It worked out. It worked itself out in a way that I didn't end up being too critical about it, and if I was critical, I was able to forgive myself, I guess.
You think it just comes with age?
Boy, I don't know. I think you just get lucky sometimes, is what it is, when you're not paying attention. I think that's as much as anything.
Yeah.
I worked so hard on the Vita Blue record and the Fish songs that I've brought to the table. A song like I Always Wanted It That Way was another song that started just as a little synthesizer part, just like all these were. And that's the same with about half the songs on the Vita Blue record. They were all synthesizer little vignettes that I developed into songs. So just to be able to be lucky enough to recognize, hey, maybe this is okay as it is. And just, that was fortuitous.
I've always tried to just like, do it afraid. That's like my response to my critic is like, well, I did it and it's done now. So, and I'm going to do it again tomorrow. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. I don't even want to hear it. But, apparently they want to hear it, so I'll just do it. And now I find myself being friendlier to the stuff that I did in the past, because I guess I'm just older, and I'm just more accepting of like, that's what you were, and this is what you are now, and it's all okay, because there's other people, if you don't like how you do it, somebody'll do it different. It's just what I do. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's age for me, though.
I think it's that thing of like letting yourself be critical, but not letting the criticism ruin the experience of doing it too, right? Like there's been so many times where it's like you have a thought and you want it to be a joke, and it's, there's something there, and you beat yourself up over it and stay awake over it, and then you find it and it's like, I didn't even enjoy getting here. Like, just have fun, and if it falls flat, fine, but at least if you can laugh at yourself and enjoy it, that's, I guess, the important part. So,
well, the group thing, I think, like the band, like Fish or any band that's a band, you have the kind of group process to kind of help you. You can focus more on like the happening of what's going on, especially improvisational stuff like what you guys do. I think it's a little easier. But I keep trying. I just keep trying.
That's all we do. Just try.
Well, Paige, if your landscaper doesn't tell you enough, and if and the guy who washes your car doesn't tell you enough, I'll tell you for the rest of us. You've meant so much to so many of us. And I think the thing that was hurtful, like really hurting during the pandemic, was not only did we miss our lives and our careers and maybe the things we were working on got cut the knees got cut out from under it, but that release of being at a concert and being, among our family that we chose and being at the place that we find to be that release where the lights go down and we all kind of, levitate about an inch off the ground and scream together. And we kind of just give up and let you guys take it. That we missed that quite a bit. That was a really hard thing to go through during this year, was to not have Fish shows and Dead & Co shows and anything that's, we love that. We need that. There's so many people where that's our release. That's our place to go to feel like we're part of something.
Oh, thank you.
So
thank you.
It's super exciting. Cannot wait to get back.
When I was playing with Trey, when we were doing that December album, I got a little bit of that feeling that I missed from being on stage when we're improvising and it starts to go places, as it did a little bit on that album, but it and kind of this all of a sudden a feeling that, I have not had this feeling in almost a year now, and that was an emotional experience for me, to both to have the feeling and then to be so sad that I don't have this feeling anymore. It was just a fleeting moment, but it was pretty heavy for me, and I do know what you're talking about, and we all miss it, and we all want to get back there.
Yeah, I think it's made everybody. I wanted a break, honestly, and it's good that I got one, because it actually helped me remember what just that basic part about playing music that's just fun. Like you say, I just did it. I wasn't planning to put it out, and I got back there, and me and my buddy Tom, it's a guitar player, is a jazz guy, showing me this stuff, and I'm up late night working on new stuff. Like I felt like I was 17 again, and I was like, wow, this is cool. And then to get to play like just a couple of things, which was hard, I felt really scared, because I was like, I'm not going to be able to last 3 hours. My tendons are going to be locked up, like I can't just go from 0 to 60. But then, and it was a little bit of a struggle, but then after a couple of shows, it started to come, and it's like, wow, it's done me good to remind me just of that pure part of it. And, I know now when all the machinery starts again, like I can find that little cord, that pure thread in there. And I think I'm going to be able to attach to that easier than I was before the pandemic, which is really a gift, I gotta say, because I felt the road tires me out, and I don't think I had the right mindset about it before, and I think I do now. I think I will. My back to normal will be better. I'm pretty sure, So
I think it's a fresh perspective from all of us, I know what you mean. I do know what you mean. I have a new appreciation for it as well, or a newfound or a new refound appreciation for it. But I know exactly what you mean.
Oh man, we're so glad to have you on, dude.
Yeah. When we stop recording, as a Fish fan, I'm going to go, there were so many things I wanted to ask that I wish I did, but I'm not going to do that. But I do want to ask you one thing.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When you look back on, let's say, Clifford Ball, and it's this idea that turns into a tradition, and you basically a town appears out of nowhere in Plattsburgh, New York, for all of us to come. And the day before you guys take the stage, let's say you arrive and you're seeing this place, and all the days leading up to that moment. And that was a pivotal, life-changing moment for me, where I realized, well, this is it. I'm with these guys for the rest of my life. As long as they keep playing, I'm going to be there with them. But what was it like arriving at an event like that was completely new and completely unique, and it was all your design? Like, it must have been such an unbelievable experience for you.
Our playing our festivals, not just Clifford Ball, and I think I was probably nervous as well, because it was such a we were playing in front of a larger crowd than we'd ever played in front of for that. now when we do them, the ones that we did at Watkins Glen and up in Limestone and those sorts of a lot of the other ones, and Clifford Ball to some degree, there's nothing like that feeling that this is a situation where everything is our little world, and we've got everyone came there for one reason, and this is it, and we're playing, and we can play all afternoon. We'll go take a long break, and we'll come back and play, a couple more sets at night, and whatever it is, and maybe some special, and all the artistic stuff for people to walk around. It was inspired by the European festivals that we got to play in the early 90s, going to Roskilde and festivals like that. It was inspired by getting to go to Jazz Fest. We played there in 94. And this feeling that we could do things differently, and people, especially the European festivals where people were able to camp, because I'd never been to a festival in the States where that was the case, where, you can go to your tents or you can come back to the stage, and it's once you're in this whole thing. Normally it's just the ticket gets you into the concert event, and then you're out and get into trouble somewhere else. But it's the feeling of playing those festivals, especially the ones towards the end, it just felt so relaxed, just knowing that everybody wanted to be there. Everybody who was there really wanted to be there. And I agree with you. It's just, those are special, and that was special. The feeling the day before, it was exciting. It was hugely exciting, and I remember our manager was freaking out about it, and it was a nerve-wracking event because we'd never done anything like it. So just from an organizational point of view, there was a lot of moving parts and a lot of things that maybe could have gone wrong, but it all, with the fans and everything, it all worked out, and we got to keep doing them. So
yeah. Well, I did my best keeping it cool. I got to tell you, I love you so much, and you've created so many amazing times.
Don't fanboy out on Paige.
Paige, I'm faxing you my first ticket stub. If you could sign it and fax it back, I'd really. No, in all honesty, you know how much
social media.
No, in all, it's not enough words could ever say thank you for all the
thank you.
The joy that you've brought in.
Thank you, and I know you speak for more than just you, and we really do. We are the luckiest band to have the fans that we have, who are so encouraging, and just go on with all our stupid little things that we do, and all our really fun, amazing things that happen with our band too. Everything, the whole gambit. It's all part of our the mythology that somehow has developed around us. But we definitely consider ourselves to be the luckiest band to have the fan base that we do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I've explained it to friends who haven't seen you, and I'm like, we cheer at the mistakes louder than we cheer at the.
That's great, because it's all I was watching the last shows we played were in Mexico in last year in February, I guess. And I was watching a video of someone just walking down the beach during the concert. It was a daytime, so it was the last day, I guess. And it was walking down this beach in Mexico, and the band's sort of off in the distance, and they're walking through the waves, just on the edge of the beach, and walking past people, and everyone's kind of dancing or talking or hanging with their friends. It's towards the back of the venue, and there's sort of this music sort of in the background kind of going along, and just made me realize this, we're a part of the event. The fans are a part of the event. We're all in it in one. It's one collective thing, and we talk about it a lot too, that it's every single person who's in the room, it's relevant. They're relevant, and they are adding to the consciousness. Or if it's outside, every person that's at that event, they are a part of that just as much as we are, because we're just this little thing off in the corner that's kind of rolling along, and everyone's having their life, and they may be at this place because we are here, but in this moment we are no more relevant than they are to what's going on in their life, and it's a wonderful, unique thing that we have, and the level of success that we've been able to achieve while still feeling close and personal with our fans is amazing, I think.
Yeah, and that's so received, and there are friends that I have, and I know that there are pockets of, my group of friends that we've stayed together as friends because we go see you guys play.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we would have stayed, not that we wouldn't have stayed friends, but we share moments that literally we don't even have to explain. We could just look at each other during a show and go, yep, all right, we're going to remember this. And it's just such a beautiful thing that we have this kind of, sonic, photo album that we kind of have that we can look back on. And yeah, it's really great. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Man. Thanks for coming on the podcast, brother. Seriously. We really appreciate it, man.
It is my pleasure. It's really nice. This is my first podcast, and I think it went pretty well.
Wow, damn good.
First podcast. I love it.
Go start a podcast page.
Yes, this is it.
We'll be on it.
No turning back now.
Well, you have
truly an honor.
Yeah, man. Have a great day, and can't wait till we're hanging together and to hear what the first thing is that comes out of Russell Batiste's mouth. It's gonna be good. We see the bodyguard again.
I think I know what it'll be. If it's anything like I've been hearing from over the last year.
All right, and on that note, we'll let you go. I love you, man.
Love you too, Ocho. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. This has really been fun. And thank you to all those people out there in podcast world.
In podcast world.